this and just go ahead and ask again for the record. I have your consent to record and upload this to our YouTube channel.
Yes.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much for your time and a pretty late, but congratulations on that award you won recently. If you'd like to talk about that for a second.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's the Advisor of the Year award, I believe, as part of the Student Life Honor Ceremony. So, yeah, very cool. I believe you received the questions ahead of time, so we'll just go ahead and start with the intro, kind of sharing your name, your role here, position here at Purdue, as well as your experience as a student organization advisor.
All right. Well, I'm Dr. Sarah Waxman. I'm a clinical assistant professor. The department is Veterinary Clinical Sciences, but what that really means is that I'm a veterinarian at the Purdue Vet School. My day job is running with Equine Field Service. So we service all of our, we have an interesting radius of kind of 30 to 60 minutes around Purdue University, and we serve horses at boarding facilities and at homes and do field work there. I am a boarded large animal surgeon, and I used to do some work at the hospital, but we go out on farm calls. And then we have fourth year veterinary students that ride with us that we're teaching all the hands-on clinical skills there. I've been at Purdue for almost 8 years on this kind of stint. I did my surgery residency here. I came actually in 2011. It's a 3-year program, and then I stayed an additional year after that, and then I left for a couple years, and then I have been back as some sort of faculty capacity since 2017. I've been with the Purdue Equestrian Team as their advisor for about 2 years. It was about this time in 2023 when I kind of took over as advisor. Their former advisor actually reached out to me personally. He was leaving the university to pursue other endeavors, and so he came to me. I had been well, our practice, Equine Field Service, has been servicing the Purdue Equestrian Team horses as their veterinarian pretty much, as they've been in existence. And so I had met him through that, and he knew that I was friends with the former coach. They actually were they had just had a changeover in their coach at that time. So he knew I knew the previous coach and had been involved in the Intercollegiate Horse Show Association, the IHSA. I rode on the Kansas State University Equestrian Team when I was an undergrad. And so I'm very familiar with the ins and outs of IHSA. And you have to kind of know what that is. Otherwise, it's not just a riding club. And so I had been a student athlete there. We were actually NCAA at the time at Kansas State. Purdue has always been a club team. They just recently actually achieved club sports status, so that's been very exciting for them. Being able to say that you're a college athlete is it's kind of cool. I don't really know how to describe that feeling, but it's not just a horseback riding club. I'm very passionate about IHSA and really, really enjoyed my experience. And so I felt very passionate that, this team could maintain having an advisor who felt that same way. Their former advisor was very involved, very supportive of them. And so he felt strongly that he needed to find somebody who felt the same way and knew that I did. So that's kind of why I did it and how I got involved.
Okay. I hadn't realized it'd only been 2 years. All right. So start on kind of a positive note, what would you say you enjoy most about your role as a student organization advisor?
Um, I think that these students get to participate in a riding experience and horse care in a very safe and inclusive environment. Typically, horseback riding is a very individual sport. It's also very expensive. Most people, there are some people that, take lessons at small barns, but to go off and have your own horse and to participate in high level horse shows is quite expensive. Um, so being part of something that is affordable and as well as this actual inclusive team is kind of a unique experience. So um, being able to support these riders, helping them have that college athlete experience and that college group support group experience is really great. And they're also many of them haven't learned how to actually, some of them may have ridden and didn't have really a lot of hands-on horse care experience. So it's really neat to kind of help them through that and have those experiences. Also, this club is pretty big. It's not just a group of kids that get together and pet horses and ride horses. They are pretty self-funded, and so being part of this group, they are learning business skills because they are actually, kind of handling large sums of money. And then they have to do a lot of fundraising. So it's not just getting together, like they're learning some pretty important skills that they can take with them as they move on.
Yeah, sounds good. So, uh, the inverse of that, what would you say you find most challenging in your role as advisor?
Yeah, it can be a challenging thing with a group like this. It's a very large unit, and there are a lot of moving parts. So, like I kind of have said a couple of times, this is not just a group of students with a common interest. Like they're not just getting together and, you know, doing an activity. Um, so they are managing the health and wellness and performance of 13 horses. Purdue actually owns 8 of them. And so they have to manage contracts with Purdue for horse use. Within the realms of what they're supposed to do. Like there's obviously the business office for the student organizations and the contracting office. It's all very, covered by the legal aspects, but they're participating in what is kind of needs to be in these contracts in terms of horse care because they do take on a lot of free leases as well. So Purdue owns 8 horses, and then currently 5 of them have private owners that have allowed the team to utilize their horses. But there's a contract that says we're going to provide these services. And so the coach does help find those horses, but the students are involved in making sure that those horses are cared for per that contract. Um, and then there's lots of money managing skills and fundraising that they have to do because they are working on basically becoming completely self-funded. There is some assistance through Purdue, the animal science department that actually owns the horses, but they're working on becoming solvent. So my job is to advise them on all of this. Um, Plus, I'm also one of the main veterinarians for their 13 horses. Our group has 3 veterinarians, and we all work together. But because I am their advisor, anytime that there's any sort of horse health question, if they're worried about an injury or an illness, they're going to reach out to me first, and that's whether that's business hours or not. Um, and so I've had horses for a long time and at my home. And so I've been a vet for over 15 years. So, I have a lot of answers for them, but, they are reaching out to me at all kinds of random times and sending videos of this, that, and the other thing. So um, all of that, there's lots of things to kind of help them manage. Their horses are located 30 minutes away at a boarding facility. Um, so there's a farm manager for that facility they have to communicate with, and their coach is a outside employee and that they employ to teach lessons and go to shows with them. And so they have to communicate with all these people. And I also communicate with them and help kind of with that communication if there are issues that arise. So
Hmm.
real big, lots of parts, lots of things to do, lots of different times.
Yeah, I actually met a couple of the students in the group for a campus safety meeting, who mentioned that contracts with these animals is kind of a different beast, pardon the pun, that normally if you're contracting like an inflatable, that thing's going to be pretty stable. You don't have to monitor its health or anything. Whereas with horses, you never know.
Yeah.
They could get injured a couple weeks, couple months before an actual competition or something, and then you have to go figure out what to do, because now you're missing a horse or that sort of thing. So yeah, that'd be complex.
Yeah, and trying to figure out which hat I'm wearing. I mean, like literally,
Right.
like, am I the veterinarian today, or am I their advisor helping with something else, or like, what is my job at this very moment?
Sure.
Trying to help them figure out certain things.
Yeah, advisors often do have to wear various hats. Uh, so going back to the positive note, is there a particular moment or event or occurrence that you can count as one of your proudest ones for the group?
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of a awesome question to be able to answer right now. Is very timely because the hunt seat team, which is so there's actually two equestrian teams with the university. There's the hunt seat team, which I am the advisor for, and there's the Western team. And they do similar things, but their size and how the club is run is a little bit different. But the hunt seat team actually had an undefeated season this year and went to the national competition in Tryon, North Carolina, and they won the entire IHSA national competition.
National. Wow. Okay.
Yes, there's over 400 teams in North America, and
Okay.
16 of them, you have to win your region, or you have to be a couple of the winners of the region, and then you have to, be a winner of the zone competition, and then you go on to nationals and compete. And so there were 16 teams, so they were top 16 in the nation, and then they won. So they are literally the top team in North America this year, and that was after an undefeated season. So when I heard about this, I mean, it was, you get a little misty kind of realizing what your team just pulled off. The students and their young coach who's been with the team now 3 years, they have worked their tail ends off. They've been practicing, taking care of their horses, fundraising to help offset the costs for all this, because even though it's a intercollegiate thing, there's still fees. Like, you don't just go
Yeah.
to the show and ride. Like, you have to pay for your classes. um, Traveling to North Carolina, housing there. There's a lot of costs with that. And so they got that all together and pulled it off. And the team's been around since 1980, and they've had, a top five finish. It's been a while, but they have never been the national champion. So is pretty proud of them all. I was not able to travel with them. Obviously, I regret that I didn't make that happen, but watching them from afar, I mean, it's been amazing.
I'm still watching all those complex parts come together,
Yeah,
all those little successes building up into that. That must have been pretty extraordinary.
yeah,
Yeah, the thing like the NBA has like 25, 26 teams and they're national champion. It's huge celebration. Your team against 400 others. Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. So if I can throw you kind of an ad lib question, then I can see how you were the recipient of the SAO award for Advisor of the Year. But did you see that coming, or was that a surprise, or how did that feel?
That was totally a surprise. To be honest, like, I mean, everybody's busy. Everybody has tons of things that they're doing. I mean, I didn't even know that there was an award out there. I knew that every organization has a faculty advisor, and to some of those clubs, all you're doing is, you're adding a signature to a paper, once or twice a year, and making sure you're kind of touching base and following those basic guidelines. But it takes a lot to advise this group, and some of it may be because I'm also their vet, and so I do a little bit extra. That's sort of, it's not above and beyond because it's my job as a vet, but there's so much that goes along with that. And, you know, I felt so honored when I found out about it, and that, I do work very hard for them. And, I get so many, they are the most thankful group. I mean, I get so many thank yous. If I need students there to help with things, they do everything they can, to be there. And sometimes they can't, in which case myself and my staff are there taking care of things. But it was very, very gratifying to find out that, not only had I been nominated for it, and then to receive that was pretty great.
Yeah. Met with Yasmin, who I think is the president now.
Yes.
Numerous occasions, she always has great things to say about you. So,
She's a pretty phenomenal individual. The amount that
yeah.
she has accomplished, in her, life and in college, and to run this, and she's made some really large improvements, and some of the things that gets done with the team from fundraising standpoint and stuff is, yeah, she's pretty great.
Yeah. Um, so the next question I had for you is, what do you feel the university or our office here at Student Activities and Organizations could do or do more of to support yourself, other advisors, student organizations, things like that?
Yeah. Probably the most common response you're getting from everybody is funding. It is expensive to do things, and unfortunately, as I already alluded to, horses are not cheap. They you have to feed them and clean up after them, and by the time finish cleaning up after them, they need to eat more, and then they make more mess, and then they hurt themselves. So that always happens. I'd say that the student activities and organizations office, there's a lot of good information out there on the websites, and if one needs help, you have to go find it. You have to take the time to go find the answer, but there's a lot of stuff out there, in support of advisors and the organizations, which is really helpful. Um, but trying to find more funding for the group has been a big challenge. They've they are now a club sport, which does open up some other avenues of funding. It's not like there's massive quantities of more money. That there's not a different money tree to be getting picked off of. But um, a lot of reports back to the exec board was, well, we applied for this, but we didn't get the funding because they ran out of money before they got to us. And that's been a common theme. And so it has been challenging because they are self-funded, and they try to, the students pay a fee every semester, to be a part of the team, and that money goes to a lot of different things. It's paying the coach, but it's also going to the horses and the board and the tack and the feed. And so sometimes the students don't quite understand what they're paying for, but we try to make sure that everybody learns all of that. But the equestrian team, they're currently boarding at a private facility in Brookston at Camp Tecumseh, and they only have 1 year left there. that the camp has been absolutely wonderful to them. It's been a great facility. They're just not set up for, long-term boarding there. And so it was always a short-term plan until we could try, Purdue there is some action to be building an equine education and equestrian performance facility, but there's still pretty much 100% of the funding and then construction on that, and it's going to take some time. And so, needing more funding for them to get going and for that facility, and then finding a place for them to go after, like starting in fall of 2026, is something that's kind of our biggest thing that we're needing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Funding, especially for organizations trying to pull off large, complex things or the need, expensive equipment, in this case, animals.
I hear apparently that hockey rinks are even more expensive than equestrian facilities. So,
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe they can one of those arenas that you could put the ice down, put down the footing for the horses. I don't know.
Sounds like a proposal. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, my last question is, what advice, insights, tips, etc., would you have for faculty or staff who are new in their role as advisors, or maybe considering becoming an advisor and kind of wondering what they're getting themselves into?
Yeah. Honestly, I say do it. There being part of a student organization is extremely fulfilling. You get to meet all these young people. They're, starting to figure things out on their own. And you can kind of help them navigate their future. Uh, you can have this opportunity to be a positive influence on them, teach them things that are useful, especially in an area that you're passionate about. Um, you know, we none of us have time for anything else. Everybody is booked up, but so you do have to be willing to give some of your time to that. But you're giving back to the university. You get to be a mentor to young people. You do have to have good communication skills. You have to want to be involved with people. But I mean, if you're a faculty at a university, I mean, I think that's kind of why we're all here. We're here to, I mean, there's different facets of being a faculty member, but if you're in a teaching role, and working with college students, I mean, this is another part that you can do. And, being part of a club that's, a group that does an activity that you're interested in. And so you can kind of help foster that. So I say do it. We never have enough time and you'll figure it out, but you get a lot back out of it, I think.
Well, that's great. Thank you again, Sarah. Appreciate your time and for sharing everything with us. And hope things continue to go well for you and your organization.
Yeah. It's been a really great year for them. So, we hope to continue going forward and continuing to have success. So
All right.